like,
I know I drop my camera too many times. It scrambles from time to time,
I know, but
John.
it was fine there forever, and then it started doing its squiggly thing. I got to
I
turn this
know.
off. It just
It's like
squeaked. I think.
it's like someone got a radar lock on me. Okay, that's what I equate when my screen goes all
Oh, it is a radar warning receiver.
yeah. It's like someone's like, hey, someone's got a lock on me. You're a fighter pilot.
Yeah, well,
So
that's all I know.
do you with your pilot title like former? Do you go former fighter pilot, or you like once a fighter pilot, always a fighter pilot?
No, I try to not even talk about it. But if someone asks, I may. I used to be. I used to be like
You're not even a former. You're used to be. Oh, John. What would your marketing guy say if you said used to
Yeah.
be?
Hey, I used to be. And he'd be like, "Oh my, no, John,
You're
you
like,
can't say it
oh,
that way. No, you were like,
don't do it.
you were Maverick. Maverick is who you were, John. That's what you're telling me you were Maverick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Even though I never landed on a boat, I did kind of land on a boat.
so. That's how you Air Force guys say it's like it's not even landing on an aircraft carrier. So I had to land on a boat.
Yeah, it's like who would want to even do that? I would, but I wouldn't tell anybody that in public anyway. I wouldn't acknowledge that. That would give them like something they do is cool, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't give that to them.
So as a former fighter pilot, how many times has Tom Cruise called you up for advice?
Tom should have called me several times, but he hasn't. He's kind of proud of his new airplanes that he has, so I doubt if
Yeah.
he hasn't called me. I think he would if he knew existed, but since he doesn't even know I exist, I got to get my number to him first. Yeah. No, he looks pretty cool in his airplanes, huh? I mean, he's got a jet and he's got, P-51 and I mean, he didn't, and that's the other thing. In all his movies, he sat in the back seat of an F-18. Never flew an Air Force jet, and then they talk like there was no other Air Force out there, that we don't even exist. That's
They're
just,
making a movie about fighter pilots, and they're using the Navy. I mean, what's that? I mean,
I don't know why you would make a fighter pilot movie about the Navy, but you know, I mean they they're not the Air Force.
so my favorite analogy with Navy fighter pilots or pilots and Air Force,
Yeah.
'cause I fly quite a bit for work and I travel around, and so is if you ever come in hard on a landing, like, and they're like it kind of bounces you. The terminology is like, oh, must be a Navy pilot
Yes, they do. And why did they say that, Rob?
because they come in hard for that aircraft carrier landing, not for
Yeah.
when they land on a boat.
It's got to be a very firm landing so that they don't bounce or don't go down, the runway very far, because they got kind of a short runway there. It's not very long at all. But yeah, but they,
Were you making a short joke there?
yeah, and they just can't land. That's the problem. Is that so when it's a bad one, you always go, hey, must be a Navy guy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I blame it on them all the time.
Yeah, Navy pilots when they're flying commercial, like for Southwest or whoever, should be handing out chiropractic business cards when they after they land. Like, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? You should go see this guy. He's gonna help. David's gonna fix your back.
Yeah, one of the first times I was in the back seat, what we call deadheading, or I was basically, I think, coming home. Oh yeah, it was because I was coming to Dayton. So I'm sitting in the back commuting home from a 3-day trip late at night. I mean, we got delayed. The weather's horrible. We come in and this guy just plants one. It just sends you forward, jars your teeth, wakes you up. Like, what was that? And all of a sudden I hear the flight attendant get on and she goes, ladies and gentlemen, that was not the captain's fault. And that was not the first officer's fault. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the asphalt. Welcome to Dayton. And I was like, whoa. And everybody was laughing. So then the boys open the door and throw it open, and they're all like going, oh man, they're laughing at my landing. No, we're laughing at the flight attendant. But based on your landing, yes. There's just no mercy in that stuff. You land like 100 of them and you roll them on and everybody goes, are we here? And then you have one like that. It just doesn't matter. It kills you. It
It's
kills
the sound guy at a concert. Nobody knows he exists until something goes wrong.
you. You're loud
All of a sudden,
school.
like the mic's not working. They're like, or there's feedback, and everyone's doing that shoulder turn, and you're there. Like if you ever run a soundboard, you're like, all of a sudden there's 1,000 people looking at you. Like I thought I had that plugged in. Like I did.
Yeah, yeah, you never notice until you're noticed, and yeah, it's pretty bad. And then what do you say? You can't say anything. You feel like an idiot. And then you got to throw that door open and watch 100 and some people go and laugh as they go off the airplane. Nice job.
Like, are you pilots competitive? Like, if I walk by you and like,
Oh
hey,
my God.
good landing, and you just be like, that bastard.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna wait till he's on my plane again, and I'll show him.
it's extremely competitive. You know, like the first one that gets to land, like you're on a 3-day trip, and so you decide to take the first one, and then you land it, and you roll it on, and you're just like going, "Okay, buddy, there you go. That's the standard." You know, and then you bounce one in, and you go, "Okay." So that sucked. He'll probably, and then he comes in and rolls his on, and you're like, "Oh my God, here we go. He landed really good." Now you're next one, you're really nervous because it's like, I'm the boss. I got to land better than that.
So
So
how accurate are like flight simulators to what you guys do? Like when I crash into the ocean on accident doing a flight simulator, like what's like I gotta imagine it's even tougher in real life. Or is it all automated now? You just go like, hey, fly to Denver, click.
there's a lot of automation, and I can go fly to Denver, but you lose your skills if you do that too often. So I usually fly, you know, the first part of the flight, and I get bored when we get up at altitude. And altitude, I mean, you're just flying straight and level, and that's not difficult to do. Now it's a little more sensitive, so you do have to be careful up there as far as moving the stick around a lot. But usually by that time I'm done. I put on the autopilot. Well, then guess what? When we're coming down, I want to fly again. So by the time we start coming down, I click it off and I start flying around and keep your skills. But there's times when it's really, really low. So you're talking 0, 0 where you can't see anything, or 50 feet type of stuff visibility. Then you're required to fly with 3 autopilots on, and basically you're monitoring the thing. So you got 3 backups coming on some airplanes. Now the 737 that I flew at the end, actually when it got bad weather, we only could go down to 50 feet, but when it was bad, we got to hand fly it down, and that was really nice. And the reason why is because we had a HUD, and so the HUD was extremely accurate to be able to follow it and fly it down. So
What's a HUD?
a HUD is a heads-up display.
Okay.
So it's HUD, HUD, heads-up display. My car, am I allowed to say this? My car now has one. I won't tell you what brand it is, but my car has a HUD to where it puts in there, turn left, and it's got my speed, and it's usually red because I'm speeding. So it's supposed to be white, but it's almost always red. So
There
that's
goes your insurance.
yeah. Well, my wife talks about that it's starting to cost us way too much, so I got to quit getting tickets. Don't go through Georgia. They're bad. Every time I go through Georgia, I get a ticket, I swear. And I have a story about that to where I had 2 of them, and I was actually a felon because my tickets were out. I had thrown them in the trash because I thought I paid them, but they actually send you a ticket, okay, for speeding, which I paid.
Okay.
Send them a check. Well, then a couple weeks later, I get another one. Well, I throw it in the trash because I go, I already paid that. I didn't open it, didn't read it. I just saw it was from Georgia State thing, and I went, wow. Well,
How much
that
that cost?
actually was an addition called a super speedy ticket that they administratively send you if you're over a certain amount. And that's, I was over 15, I think. So they sent me another one. So I was actually, when I went through the second time, I got another ticket, and he was like, you have an outstanding ticket. So we kind of like have a warrant for you to, so we're going to let you go, but you need to pay the last ticket. I'm like going, whatever. So they send me the new ticket, and I get a second ticket. I go to throw it in the trash, go, this is what happened before. And then I went, wait, what did he say? So I opened it up, and that's when I figured out I do.
Don't you think it'd be better like if the police officer, when they're giving you a ticket, kind of like have an iPad like a Chick-fil-A, be like, hey, here, do you have your membership? You scan your membership. Hey, you're gonna get some rewards points on this one.
I should have either some sort of, stock in Georgia, or I should have some, something, definitely awards points that I get special treatment. Hey, now you can go. Your speed limit today is 80, not 70. I should, get that sort of points that I go through there.
Jeez. But okay, going back to your fighter pilot, what's the most like eerie situation you've been up in the sky where you get that nervous, like, oh no, like, do you ever get nervous as a pilot, whether in your fighter pilot days or your commercial days? You're just like, ooh, that was a little uneasy.
Yeah, well, when I first was starting out in the F-15, you had to have certain things, like you had to have enough practice doing something. So every quarter you had to get like night flying, you had to get night tankers where you went and got gas off a KC-135 or KC-10.
Wow.
So that was required. Well, we didn't do a lot of night flying, so it was kind of, we stacked them all together when we did it. It's because you'd have to switch the whole schedule around. So when we did nights, then you usually did it all week. Well, I was a young lieutenant, and I was number 2 in a 4-ship, and I'm flying along, and it was the 4th night, so I'm getting comfortable with flying nights. I hadn't done a lot of night flying, but I'm getting comfortable. I'm cool. I got this. This is no problem. So I'm flying on his wing, thinking I'm pretty cool, looking over through my window at him, going, yeah, I'm flying fingertip. This is awesome, which is about 3 feet spacing. Well, then he kicks his rudder, which is the back, and it does this. So his airplane does this, and that tells me to go to a tactical position. So when he does that, I'm supposed to at night, because of my inner ear problems when you do things at night, I'm supposed to ease out to that thing. Well, Johnny didn't do that. Johnny went full pull, and then parked it over there, okay? And I'm sitting there going, very comfortable. And the next thing I know, after a couple minutes of me flying out there in a tactical position, one says something with tone that, when somebody speaks with your tone, you kind of recognize it right away. And he just goes, 2, you got a problem? Now, me being who I am, went to key the mic and say, no, I don't have a problem. Do you? Well, before I keyed the mic, something in my brain said, maybe you ought to check inside to see what's going on in the airplane. Maybe you got fire or something, a light, something you're not recognizing. So I'm still looking at him as I'm flying off him, and I take a quick half a second look in, and I realize instead of flying like this, I'm flying like this. 90 degrees back, with one wing up in the air, one wing pointed at the ground, and I'm looking out the top of the canopy. Now, to fly like that, you normally wouldn't recognize that you have full top rudder, so your leg is totally pushed against the stop of the rudder to hold it up, the nose up, and you're looking at the top of the canopy versus the side of the canopy, and I didn't recognize any of that. That's how screwed up I was, okay? So my head was telling me that was straight and level.
No, isn't that though why some of these smaller single engine Cessnas 182s, why people do crash them though is they get their bearings in the fog or something so off that they don't know which way is even up.
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took off, got in the weather, and his head told him something that, he makes a turn, and then what happens is the inner ear fluid tilts and now tells you, if you hold that turn long enough, that that's straight and level. So when you roll out, every time you roll out, you feel like you're in a bank and you want to roll in. So you have to really rely on your instruments, which he didn't know how to read his instruments. So he ended up taking it into a deeper bank and then actually stalled the airplane and ended up spinning in the ground, killing him and a couple other people because he did not rely on his instruments. So what I did is the boss told me, hey, I look in, I go, yeah, I'm got a problem. So he puts me in trail and I lock on. So we're doing pretty good. We're in the weather, but when I drop back, I don't have to, stay close to him. So I'm looking in the radar, but every time I take my eyes off my ADI and the radar lock, I try to turn.
Wait, ADI, what was that?
Oh, ADI. It's your basically pilot instrument that tells you what up and down is, left and right. So you're looking at the ADI. So when I'd look away at something like to check something, my hand would physically roll the airplane in to try to get back in to this position because my head says, this is now straight and level, pal. And I'd be and I look in and go, oh my God. And I roll back and go, don't take your eyes off it. Oh my God, keep on it.
So then how long does it take your the fluid in your ear to reset?
I don't know that. So longer than it did than I thought. So we're flying along and I'm thinking things are cool because I'm doing pretty good now. Well, then we break out of the weather and we rejoin on the tanker. So when you rejoin on a tanker, lead always goes down first, underneath the tanker, and they drop the boom and plug him and he flies and he's getting his gas. Well, he sends me up to the wing and he sends 3 and 4 up to the other wing. So 3's on one wing, 4's on 3's wing, and I'm over there on the tanker's wing, flying fat, dumb, and happy, thinking everything's good. Well, then the tanker.
Are you flying semi-inverted again?
No, I'm flying good now. So I'm thinking my head's good. I'm back normal. Things are great. Well, the tanker goes into the weather and does a 30-degree bank turn into the weather because he does a little circle as his route. That's his tanker route. About, minute and a half into that, 3, who's on the wing watching me, looking down through the tanker at me, goes, 2, you got a problem. At this point, I'm like going, oh my God. And I look inside, and again, exact same thing. I'm flying on the tanker, 9 degrees aback. And so I just roll out thinking I'm going to hit somebody because I just don't know what's going on with my head. I go full afterburner. So now it's just like, it's going, it's moving, the airplane's moving, and I just put it in a steep climb to get away from everybody. And I go reach down and squawk emergency so air traffic control knows I'm blowing through all kind of altitudes and clear everybody out of the way. And then I level off when I think I'm about 5,000 feet from the tanker, and I'm sitting up there just going, okay, you're going to be okay. Tell him you need emergency and tell him you're going home. So I just put the INS point direct to base. Lead finds out that where I'm at, and he rejoins on me. Now he follows me down. I go and land. But that was one time where I was really not very good as far as going, oh my God, what's wrong with my head? I am so messed up. So, and I thought I was fine, but it came right back as soon as I went in a bank, and when the weather, my head was not correct still. So it took a while to get it back.
So what's interesting with that is like my dad taught me a story. My dad's he flew planes. He flew like the Cessna, the 182s. He told me a story. He goes, because he had his instructor's license, so I could actually sit in the left-hand seat. I'm like 14, cool. 15 years old. I remember it was a summer day. We're flying somewhere over Ohio, and we're talking. He goes, "Hey, just so you know, if you're ever flying at night and you lose mechanical, I'm going to teach you how to land, because that's important, right? If you're like, look, I'm like, okay, good to know." He goes, "All right. So what you do when you lose mechanical, turn off your lights. Start looking around for a place to land. Start on your approach. Start going down." As you're getting ready to land, turn your lights back on. If you don't like what you see, turn them off.
It won't hurt half as bad if you can't see it. Yeah. You don't like what you see, turn it off. Oh yeah, that works, Dad. Thanks.
Nope, absolutely, it works.
So, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Well, with your story and that, so it reminds me of what you're doing now. Is you're the founder of Hiswell Homes, which is a mental health organization helping people with, the people that help people that have mental health issues and those that have the mental health, and raising awareness of what mental health is.
Right.
So you're a problem solver. You have to solve problems quick. You've been involved with this, like in the mental health area. Like, what got you started in this? Like, why did you go like, there is a problem, there is a need, and we need to step in, and help with that solution?
Well, that's really, it goes back to basically when I became a true Christian. I mean, I was born and raised Catholic, so I knew there was a God, but it meant nothing to me as far as that relationship, other than if I had an emergency, I would break the glass, pull the handle, get somebody, hey, God, this one's yours. It's well beyond my capabilities, which didn't happen a lot. So I didn't have a relationship with him all. But when some things in my life fell apart, that I turned to him, and that relationship became critical to me. It became every day to me. It became something that I loved, wanted, and grew in. Then it became important to me to try to give back. And I happened to be in a situation where I was able to, I was trying to donate some money to people and make changes in people's lives. And I called an organization that had a great need. And when I went down there and saw what they were doing, and got a chance to see one of the homes that they took me in, that I couldn't believe the actual how bad it was. It just disgusted me. And it was pretty funny because the lady that took me down there, all the way there, she's trying to warn me, well, don't get upset, John. I'm like, I'm not going to get upset. I'm good. She goes, no, I mean, seriously, these are pretty bad places. Everybody I take into it gets really upset. I'm like, I'm good. We're going to be good. So she pulls up to the house, and she gets out on one side. I get out first, so I'm on the street side. And she just tells me going up to the house. So I go up to the house, and the rails going up the house are all wobbly and barely on. And I go to grab the door handle, and there's not even a door handle. And I just look back at her like, where are we going? Where are you taking me? And she goes, just knock. It's bolted from inside. And I go, okay. So I knock, and it takes 3 or 4 times before somebody ever gets to the door. Finally, somebody opens the door, and I walk in. And as soon as I walk in, the smell is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I just like, I just want to go back out in my car. And so I walk down the hallway. There's bedrooms on the side, and me being who I am, I'm friendly and I want to go talk to everybody. So I say, hey, to the first couple, and I go to the third room, and the guy's got a white sheet and he's laying there and he looks up to see who's coming. And I see little bed bugs on his sheet, and I just like back out of the room. And I go down, because she's directing me, keep going. And she goes through the kitchen, and the kitchen is just disgusting. Pans, bugs. Everything was dirty. And I was now starting to feel like I don't even want to get back in my car. But she took me down there to look at she said she had a large hole in the dining room and wondered if I could fix it. I had told her I couldn't fix it because I fly airplanes. That's all I do. And I do that well, just sort of well. And so I said, but I could probably find somebody to do it. So we were going down there to look at that. And it was amazing. I walk into the dining room, and sure enough, it happened to be raining that day. So there was 4 buckets and trying to catch the water dripping from where it looked like part of the ceiling had fallen in, and they were there. And she again says, so what do you think? And I go, well, what I think is I'm not fixing that hole because this place needs condemned. It's a disaster. I go, I can't believe it's passing state inspections. I go, somebody needs to close this place. It's unbelievable. I said, my brother runs brand new nursing homes, and he gets written up all the time for little stuff, and they try to close him. It's like, I don't know how this place is even operating. And she goes, well, you could close it. That's a really good deal. I did 20 years ago. I called up. I got the news media involved. I got everybody upset, and I got a place closed. And in that winter, when someone didn't get placed out of the home, they lived under the bridge and they froze to death. Oh, so she turned to me and said, it's easy to close these places, John. You got to find a better way. And I have no idea why I said it, but I turned down because she's only about chest high. And I go, well, I'll find a better way. And so that's what got me started, was me saying that to her and me seeing the situation. Once you see that situation, I just didn't feel like I could just let it go anymore. I knew about it, so I felt like I needed to do it and was called to do something about it. So that's how I got involved.
That's amazing. Then over the years, you've run a few facilities, and then what you're doing now with Prescription for Wholeness is you're taking what you've learned with the physical homes and helping move that online to build an online community where you can reach more people.
Yeah, it's really a two-part thing, but definitely RX for Wholeness, after 10 years of trying to figure out how to do that. We ran some homes for people. We, first of all, started out just trying to support for-profit homes, go in with our support and our people to try to help out. And we saw things with our support, and especially our money support, that I wasn't exactly I didn't think they were doing it appropriate. I felt like it was more going into pockets versus for the people in the homes themselves. And so we decided to finally try to get our own. But every time we went to do that, the cost to do that, to get a home, rehab it, and sustain it was almost impossible to do. And now with COVID, it literally, I don't think you can do it without, great support of something, some sort of mechanism to be able to stay in those homes. So what we're doing is we came up with an idea that we think RX for Wholeness is our 10 years of developing and trying all kind of different things to figure out how to help these people that are on the low end of the spectrum as far as functionality and receiving help. So these individuals get like $35 a day. They live in the streets or in deplorable homes, and 35 to maybe, I think it may be up to even 40% of the people in prison have nothing more than a mental health condition. So what we're trying to do is change all that. And the way we're going to change it is RX for Wholeness is an app, an online platform that has numerous capabilities that we think they've asked for. We've surveyed and talked to people that either are their caregivers or the people that have suffered themselves or advocates. And we think what we have is a supportive online community that basically community is a huge part of it, because they want some place where they can feel like they belong and feel like they can share things without the shame and guilt and stigma that goes with mental health. So we've developed that platform for that, but we also have on there resources and other people that can help them, and our training is on there. So we've built a platform that we think is specifically for people who struggle with mental health and mental health conditions, and those that love them and care for them. And so we think that is the way to do what we want to do, which is we can help all those people And then eventually what we like to do is take those revenue streams we build from advertising, sponsorships, training, merchandise, all this stuff, and reach down and now start building the homes. But the key is RX for Wholeness is what we would say is a prescription to be able to learn how to manage your life better so that we can be that gap between the psychiatrist and the specialized care, and we have lived experience care, and from somebody that can't get in to see anybody. And we hope to keep people alive and keep them stable enough to get there if they need to, or once they get the medicine and help them to get to a certain level, we can then take them and keep them at a better level, which we call wholeness, or, you know, basically abundant life is what we're trying to give these people. Learn how to thrive versus barely surviving like a lot of them are. And some of them aren't even doing that. Their suicide rates are skyrocketing. So that's what it's for.
No, that's amazing that you're doing that, and I appreciate what you're doing. So, John, former fighter pilot, or what was the other? I used to be a pilot.
I used to be.
I used to be a pilot. No, you're a former fighter pilot. It sounds better. Okay.
Okay, I'll try to use that from now on.
Founder of Hiswell Homes and now Prescription for Wholeness, or RX for Wholeness.
Yep.
So we appreciate what you're doing. Let us know how we can help, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Oh, you're welcome. It was fun, Rob. We'd do it again anytime. All right.
Absolutely. Oh, and I'm going to listen to your podcast too.
All right. You do that. It's a good podcast. I have a lot of guests on. Maybe I should bring you on.
Oh, I don't know anything about mental health to help you out.
I know, but it still would be fun.
It'd be fun. There'd be no.
Nobody would watch it, but me and you would have fun.
It'd be more mental than health. That's for sure.
They might say, "Hey, you guys should start the program. You guys should sign up." Doing Rob.
Yes. Have you signed up for this RX for Wholeness? Like,
I think that's why the RX for Wholeness is so helpful, is because they know it helps me. It keeps me fairly stable.
what's the saying where the psychiatrist is the worst to take their own advice or something?
Oh yeah. Well, most of it is just I love what was it, Bob Newhart. I always think of him when I think of mental health or when I need to change something. And his big pitch was always stop it, just stop it. Our program's a little more advanced than that. Okay.
More than just, I'm going to click on one of the programs. Just stop it. Just, oh, okay.
I think I should put that on the beginning of one of them. Here's the whole thing. Write this down, get a pay. I don't want you to forget it, so it's hard. It's pretty complex. Stop it.
No, it reminds me when my wife and I are in a discussion, and I just tell her to calm down. That goes over great.
Oh yeah, with me too. Somebody say calm down. I'm like, oh, okay.
So
you don't say
John
that.
Hitchens, Hiswell Homes, Prescription for Wholeness. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, bud. See ya, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Take care.
We'll do it again.
All right.